Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm David Kerr from Lansing in Michigan, and these are your latest news headlines from around the world. On the second day of his 3-day apostolic visit to Kazakhstan in Central Asia, Pope Francis has addressed participants at the 7th Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions. On Tuesday morning, the Holy Father began his speech by addressing everyone as, quote, brothers and sisters in the name of the fraternity that unites everyone as children of the same heaven. The Holy Father said he believes fundamentalism corrupts every creed and expressed hopes for an encounter of religions based on sincere dialogue and respect for human dignity. The Pontiff also pointed out that God is peace and added that conflicts have to be resolved by means blessed by heaven, such as encounter, dialogue and negotiation. Elsewhere, in his address to members of civil society and the diplomatic corps in the Kazakh capital of Nur Sultan on Tuesday, Pope Francis urged those present to find harmony, which he said is reflected in Kazakhstan's history and traditions. The Pope explained his point with reference to the country's traditional two-stringed instrument, the dombra. He termed it a symbol of continuity in diversity. The Holy Father said its rhythm accompanies the country's memory, and thus it serves as a reminder of how important that memory is amid today's rapid economic and social change. He then urged the people of Kazakhstan not to neglect bonds that connect them to those who have gone before them. Meanwhile, Pope Francis received a special gift on Tuesday at the beginning of his flight from Rome to Kazakhstan. A reporter working for Spanish radio station COPE presented the Holy Father with a capulana. That's a traditional stole from Mozambique in Africa that symbolises life. The Holy Father was given the symbolic garment to recall the killing of Sister Maria de Coppi, an Italian Comboni sister who was shot dead in Mozambique on September the 7th. By members of the Islamic State. The Comboni religious sisters who sent the stole as a gift also asked for prayers for the people of Mozambique. Separately, Pope Francis said that he is willing to travel to China when asked about a possible meeting with China's President Xi Jinping. Prayers have been offered in the Holy Land for the repose of the soul of Queen Elizabeth, who died last week at the age of 96. The Franciscans of the Custody of the Holy Land, who are responsible for the holy sites in Israel and Palestine, represented the Church in a prayer service for the late Queen, held in Jerusalem's Anglican Cathedral. In a message issued to her son, King Charles III, the Franciscans praised the Queen as a model of dedicated leadership. Queen Elizabeth's funeral will take place on Monday, September the 19th in London. In the days prior, her mortal remains will lie in state in Westminster Hall. To the US, where the Diocese of Lansing in Michigan has initiated a 54-day Rosary novena aimed at defeating a proposal to enshrine abortion up to birth in the state constitution. The Fight Like Heaven novena calls upon people to employ the 3 great spiritual weapons of the Christian life: prayer, fasting and almsgiving. Citizens across the state have been invited to join in the novena beginning on the Feast of Our Lady of Sorrows on September the 15th. The proposed Reproductive Freedom for All constitutional amendment will be voted upon on November the 8th. The name of the novena is in response to calls by the pro-abortion governor of the state of Michigan, who has promised to, quote, fight like hell to prevail on the issue of abortion. Lawmakers in West Virginia have passed legislation tightening up the state's abortion law. The legislation was passed on Tuesday, September the 13th. The new bill bans abortion soon after fertilization. Under the legislation, rape and incest victims would be able to obtain abortions at up to 8 weeks of pregnancy. They report to law enforcement first. That time limit rises to 14 weeks for minors. The bill will now go before the Republican governor of the state, Jim Justice, who is expected to sign it into law. Meanwhile, the US Senator for South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, is proposing a federal ban on abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy, with certain exceptions. Senator Graham, who's a Republican, introduced the Protecting Pain-Capable Unborn Children from Late-Term Abortions Act on Tuesday. The only exceptions, he said, would be in the cases of rape, incest, or when the mother's life is at risk. During a press conference, Senator Graham said the legislation was designed to get America in a position at the federal level that's fairly consistent with the rest of the world. He noted that 47 out of 50 European countries already ban abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy. Pro-life advocates in the United States have reacted with dismay to a rise in the number of abortions in 2020. In their annual report, the abortion provider Planned Parenthood revealed that a total number of 383,460 lives were aborted across the US last year. That's up 30,000 on the previous year. It's the equivalent of 1,050 unborn lives lost each day. The president of the pro-life campaign group Live Action, Lila Rose, is now calling for such abortion centres to be closed down. The 2020 report also reveals that Planned Parenthood performed fewer general appointments and tests for other health conditions and was focused almost entirely on providing abortion. The bishops of Cuba have expressed their opposition to new family laws which are being proposed by the Caribbean islands' communist government. In a letter addressed to the people of Cuba, the bishops expressed concern about the inclusion of assisted human reproduction techniques for homosexuals who wish to procure a child. They reiterated that marriage between man and a woman is irreplaceable as the basis of a good society. They also expressed particular concern over the insertion of gender ideology, including the provision for minors to pursue so-called sex change procedures without parental consent. The proposed family code will be voted upon in a referendum on September the 25th. In Nicaragua, people are being asked to pray the Holy Rosary each day for Bishop Rolando Alvarez of Matagalpa, who has been kept under house arrest by the country's leftist government since last month. The bishop's diocese posted the request on its Facebook page. The house arrest of Bishop Alvarez is the latest in a series of anti-Catholic measures enacted by the Sandinista government led by President Daniel Ortega. Finally, the pontifical charity Aid to the Church in Need says it wants 1 million children to pray the Holy Rosary worldwide this October. The charity has urged the participation of families, kindergartens, schools and churches in its 1 million children praying the Rosary campaign that will take place on October the 18th. The organisers say they want to encourage children and youth to turn to God for assistance and support through trying times. The idea of the Rosary campaign began in 2005 in Venezuela. It quickly spread across the world, with Aid to the Church in Need taking over its organisation in 2019. October is traditionally the month of the Holy Rosary. Ave Maria. Well, that's your latest headlines. Do join us for more tomorrow. You can also join us at swnews.org for news updates. Shalom.